Hi, this is Aaron Wilson. We're talking about the depth chart after the draft, after most of free agency has subsided, and of course the undrafted free agency and the rookie minicamp, and I'm just kind of seeing where do all the pieces fit together. We discussed the offense in a separate video, then we're going to talk about the defense and the special teams in this one. And I've got my little football here. I'm going to put this down so I can talk with my hands a little better as I talk some defense. And of course, the architect of the Texans' very talented defense is Texans coach DeMeco Ryans. Matt Burke is the defensive coordinator. And not a lot of change except, you've got, Rod Wright is, of course, the head defensive line coach. He's back. And you added Frank Okam as assistant defensive line coach. So you've got a little bit of change there. Bill Davis back as the linebackers coach. So not a lot of change on defense, unlike the offense where they have new offense coordinator Nick Caley and a new offensive line coach, head offensive line coach, with a promotion for Cole Popovich, who's also the run game coordinator. So looking at the Texans and where they stand, we're going to start with the defensive line, one of DeMeco's favorite spots. And why not? This is a team that is really, really, really deep with a formidable tandem, arguably the best bookend pass rushing tandem in the NFL. Danielle Hunter on one side, and on the other side, Will Anderson Jr. Hunter, the master of the Eurostep spin move, very tough to stop that. Very few guys can spin and win like Danielle Hunter. And he is just absolutely difficult to stop. Look what he did to Penei Sewell from the Detroit Lions. Look at how he's made a lot of offensive linemen look bad. Look behind me. There's going to be plays running from the game against the Dallas Cowboys. Was watching some YouTube highlights from that. And that was a game where Jalen Petrie played very well. And also Danielle Hunter, Will Anderson Jr., and backup defensive end Derek Barnett. So, yeah, big night for the Texans defense and just a dominant up there at AT&T Stadium against the home state rival Dallas Cowboys, supposedly America's team, but they weren't Texas's team on that night. And with Will Anderson Jr., a developing and deeper repertoire of pass rushing moves, and he has speed to power. He's got a good bull rush. He's got a good ability with the spin move, swim move. His best game was against the New England Patriots. He was all over Drake May, and then he had an injury. When Will is in the lineup, which is the most of the time, one of the better young defensive ends in football, former NFL Defensive Rookie of the Year. I think they'll do a contract next year for him that will be market value and be over $30 million annually, just like it is for Danielle Hunter, who they have an investment of $55.1 million combined over the next 2 seasons. After his 1-year extension this offseason, he really had earned that deal, so good to have him. And then look at the depth. Derek Barnett scored a couple of touchdowns as a backup last year, and he is stout at setting the edge. He's a tough guy. He's heavy-handed. He's not a great pass rusher. I want to say not great. He's not someone that's the most gifted in terms of moves, but he's always coming. He's always going after the football. You can't stop this guy for very long. It's hard to get him blocked. Denico Autry had a difficult season, a little bit of an older player, had a 6-game suspension. He says that was something where he accidentally ingested something and got a performance-enhancing drug suspension. So once he was back, it took a while for him to play his way into shape. By the playoffs, he was showing why they spent so much money on him on a 2-year, $20 million deal, and he is back for year 2 of that contract. They did restructure it, took a little bit of a haircut on the deal. He can block kicks. He can play inside. He can play outside. They added a talented pass rusher in Darrell Taylor, who's played for the Chicago Bears before. I think he's a very good football player. And we'll add something. I think I could see him being like a 5-sack guy. Absolutely. Dylan Horton, whenever they put him in the lineup, he does a good job at stopping the run. He's good at getting off blocks. And, of course, inspirational guy that beat non-Hodgkin's lymphoma. The backups, and I don't know if they're going to be on the roster or not, but there's Casey Toohill. He's got a little bit of a pass rush skill. He can play special teams. Kingsley Jonathan, Solomon Byrd. So we'll see who sticks. And then over at defensive tackle, another talented group. They brought back Mario Edwards Jr. on a 2-year, $9.5 million contract. Sheldon Rankins back on a 1-year, $7 million deal. Remember the 3-sack game he had against the Bengals 2 seasons ago. Tim Settle Jr., contract extension candidate as he heads in the final year of his deal. And Tommy Togiai, that was a good addition that the Texans made, moving him up from the practice squad. They have him at a very affordable deal. Good run stopper, had a sack in the playoffs. I think that Togiai's got a lot of upside. Really definitely an impressive pickup for Nick Caserio to get him in off the street and added to the roster. So guys that are fighting for a roster spot include Keontae Hamilton, their 7th-round pick. He could stick. He could play defensive tackle. He could play defensive end. Good Rutgers guy, former wrestler, good technique. Kurt Hinish, people have counted him out before, and Kurt will beat the odds and make the team year after year. So he will be in another battle for a roster spot, but a lot of things to like about Kurt. Moving on to linebacker, team captain and hard hitter, Azeez Al-Shaair. And, of course, he had the 4-game suspension for the Trevor Lawrence hit, Trevor sliding late, Azeez not pulling up enough, and then a big melee, 2 fights afterward, and that's what earned him the suspension. He was upset about the way he was described in the disciplinary letter by John Runyon, and the league, I believe, behind the scenes has tried to make it right with him. You look at what Azeez does. He is the extension of DeMeco Ryans on the field. He's the green dot. He is the defensive signal caller. Rangy, fast linebacker, but he needs to play a full season. They need him on the field. They've already restructured his contract. He helped them out to be able to sign more players. Henry To'oTo'o was steady Eddie. He's a instinctive, hard-hitting linebacker. He covers a lot of ground. He makes really good reads. He understands blocking schemes. He trusts his reads. He makes really instinctive plays. And he is a potential starter. He could hold on to this job. Christian Harris is the most talented guy, pound for pound, at the linebacking core. A true run and hit linebacker. Had a very bad calf injury that he aggravated twice. He also then had an ankle injury. By that point, he had missed a lot of time. That's why he didn't make a big impact. A dark horse to start is because of how experienced he is, how tall he is, and how rangy is E.J. Speed. 6'4" linebacker. I could see EJ, also former Charleston State, former Colts starter, had 142 tackles last year for Indianapolis. I could see him becoming the starter. So keep an eye on that. Nick Neiman, quality depth, gritty, special teamer, can be a spot starter if needed. A guy that has quality depth to this team. Former Charger, Iowa guy, very tenacious backup. Other good backups, especially for special teams. Jamal Hill, 4.41 speed. And he can definitely be a gunner. He can do a lot of things on special teams. Jake Hansen's got some of the best run fits, finds the ball. Whenever he's been counted out, he's made the team. He's been making this team since Lovie Smith. He played for him at Illinois, and he's made this team every year, so you shouldn't count him out. Someone that could be on the roster again. Safety, very talented, very crowded. They add C.J. Gardner-Johnson, or CD. Doesn't like to be called C.J., likes to be called CD or CD Deuce, and had a chance to meet CJ. We've had a couple of interviews with him, and just an interesting guy. The alpha, got that personality. He's tough. He can get to the football. He can pick off a lot of passes. He's one of the reasons why the Eagles won the Super Bowl. He does tend to be a little bit boisterous in terms of personality, and he's a talker, gets under the skin of his opponents. And I think he's off to a good start here as far as fitting into the team structure, into the locker room. And I'm not worried about him. I think that he's going to fit in. I think he's going to help this team. And if he doesn't, they don't have a gigantic investment in him, but I think that it's going to work. Kalen Bullock, ball hawking, natural center fielder, had a great rookie year, improved as a tackler, is getting stronger in the weight room. He's got a really bright future, really good draft pick. That's good drafting by Nick Caserio, getting him in the 3rd round last year. Jimmy Ward, when he's healthy, very productive, good at nickel, good at safety. They have him under contract. It's guaranteed, and that's a quality backup. If he's a backup, he's a former team captain. He's a very good one. MJ Stewart is mostly special teams, and he's going to be pushed by Jalen Reed, who was all Big Ten second team for a roster spot. Jalen looks like a smaller linebacker, very stocky, 212 to 214 pounds, 4.49 speed, 98 tackles and 3 picks for the Nittany Lions last year. Interesting 6th-rounder. Rush Yeast, it's probably practice squad, and he's going to push for a spot, but yeah, I think it's really deep there. at that position. They made Jalen Petrie the second highest paid. Briefly, he was the highest paid nickel in the NFL. New contract for Jalen, and 3 years, $42 million. And he is making a sound comeback from the torn pectoral. I see him getting back on the field and picking up where he left off with big hits like he had in the Dallas game and other games. Jalen Smith can play nickel. That's their third-round pick from USC. He can also play outside corner. He can play safety in a pinch. So this is a good pick. They probably picked him a little higher than they had to. Some people thought he should have been drafted a little later, but I think he's still a good pick, and they're happy to have him. Over at corner, as far as pure corner, All-Pro Derek Stingley Jr., some of the best ball skills, some of the best hands, some of the best speed, leaping ability, body control of any corner in the NFL, and that's why he got a 3-year, $90 million extension in new money, making him the highest paid corner in the NFL in new money. And then they have Kamari Lassiter, the locksmith, lockdown corner as a rookie, physical, gotten stronger in the weight room, expecting a big second season from Kamari Lassiter, added some quality depth with Ronald Darby, former starter for a lot of teams, and I think having Darby gives them that good third corner. They're always looking for that. And then Tremont Smith, mostly a special. And the Texans at the cornerback position have some quality depth and speed with Tremont Smith. Tremont is one of the faster players on the roster, if not the fastest player on the roster. So I look at him as a guy that will be on the 53-man roster, a key addition to the special teams for Frank Ross. So another one, D'Angelo Ross, one of the top kick coverage specialists in the NFL. I know he has started at corner, but undersized corner, fast, 4.38 speed. Tremont is low 4.3s, but 4.33, so about as fast as Brandon Cooks, the former Texans receiver. So it'll be a pretty good race between Tremont Smith, Jalen Noel. A lot of speed on this football team. But yeah, that was one of the priorities for the draft, get faster. And looking at some of the other depth, Elijah Huzzie, he's going to have the equivalent of a redshirt year, coming off of a torn ACL at the East-West Shrine game. Had some 4th-round, 5th-round grades as a nickel corner, but is injured and just starting to get back to be able to do some things. I don't anticipate him being ready for the season, so I think he'll be one way or another around practice squad or injured reserves. Gregory Jr., another depth player fighting for a roster spot. I'm going to include special teams into this defense special teams tandem video. So we know they've got one of the most accurate long-distance kickers in Kaimi Fairburn, consistent guy, had a very tough playoff game. Makes you question a little bit what kind of cold weather kicker Kaimi is, but he had a tough night. And he is breaking in a new long snapper, the ace, the former Pro Bowl long snapper John Weeks, now a San Francisco 49er. A lot of fans were sad to see him go. Obviously a class act on and off the field, but time moves on, and the Texans move on to either Tucker Addington, the veteran, who's snapped for the Patriots and the Dolphins, among others, or the undrafted rookie Austin Brinkman from West Virginia, very consistent performer for the West Virginia Mountaineers special teams. And so we have a true camp competition, just like we have one at the offensive line and at linebacker, opposite Aziz Al-Shaair. We have one at long snapper. No competition at all at Tommy Townsend, the punter. Booming hang time as advertised. Former Pro Bowler, was a contender for the Pro Bowler. Maybe a guy that was snubbed a little bit. I thought he had a great first season, and now he's back for more with the Texans. So Frank Ross, special teams, a very strong unit every year. Contenders for the Rick Gosselin annual award for having the top statistical special teams. So that's the defense, that's the special teams, and my separate video on the offense. And yeah, I look forward to doing these check-ins from time to time about the depth chart, because sometimes you just want to look at the big picture and talk about who's going to be playing where. And so that was really big for this entire off season and trying to fit all the pieces together. Not done with anything. I am sorry I neglected to mention someone that they added recently to the defensive tackle mix. So let me back up here a little bit. Foley Fatukasi signs with the Texans post-draft. They get Foley in there, and he's arguably their best run-stopping defensive tackle impactful plays against the Chargers in the playoffs. Had a shoulder injury that needed surgery, delayed his free agency, and now he's working back to full health. So I see Foley Fatukasi making it, and it makes it tougher for Tommy Togiai, Keontae Hamilton, Kurt Hinish to make the squad again, get a spot. But you have great depth there. They don't have any guy that's really dominant, but collectively a good defensive tackle group. So yeah, sorry about that, Mr. Fatukasi, as he calls himself on Instagram. And I had a chance to trade a couple messages with him. He's very excited to be back, happy to be with the Texans again. One of DeMeco Ryans' favorites, a really good locker room guy, good veteran player. So yeah, Foley Fatukasi, and that was my mistake, my omission. I know he's on the team. I just was looking at some of my notes from earlier in the offseason before they added him to terms, as we reported, on a one-year contract. So they bolster the depth there and just have to get him fully healthy from his shoulder injury. He had an ankle injury also last season, but he's back now. So Foley Fatukasi filling out this depth chart as they continue to try to improve. And they're going to look for other opportunities when they can to get better in any spot. But I think this is the majority of what we're going to see. The 90 players they have now, and they obviously worked out some running backs, but they didn't sign any of them, with Travion Williams or Chris Evans or Nyheim Hines, who all recently worked out for the Texans. So they are always looking, but it doesn't necessarily mean that they have to buy. Like a lot of people that like to browse, like to shop. Nick Cassera doesn't necessarily have to pull the trigger on everything, but yeah, they look at everything. They try to improve the roster. That's what you should do. So it's going to be a very, very competitive training camp, and that's what they wanted. They wanted it to be not so many guys just having set roster spots. They wanted it to be a mix of players. I think we're going to see some upsets, some twists, some turns, and it'll be an exciting training camp. We'll bring it to you all here and at KPRC2 and at www.click2houston.com, and of course on Twitter/X at @AaronWilson_NFL and Instagram AaronWilson7128. Please like and subscribe. Thank you guys for supporting this channel.